done. Intro. It's intro time. Shush. Everyone shut up. What's going on, main characters? Welcome back to Third Parties Podcast. We are here with the Cody and the Matt, both hanging out in the Discord. How's it going, guys?
What's up? Hi, the Matt.
He's the Matt, and you're the Cody.
The Matt.
He's technically he's the Matt Man. He's technically the Snipe Dog. Guys, we have so much to get into today. We have a couple of announcements for the channel. Hope you guys are enjoying the series. If you are, please make sure to smash the like button, subscribe if you are new, and share the video out there. We're going to jump into those announcements, and then after that, we have a lot of big news. We have the Landman series from Paramount Plus is taking the internet by storm. The windmill scene in that series, it was trending on X the other day, and saw a couple of other big channels reacting to it. I wanted to look at it, checked out the series. So far, I'm in love with it. I think it's amazing. Have a lot to talk about with Paramount's streak of wins that they've had on their streaming platform. Ubisoft with XDefiant being shut down after a year. It's going to be crazy. That's crazy. We have a lot to talk about with that. Harry Potter has announced one of its first casting choices, and it's rumored that they are going to be hard race swapping several of the beloved characters. We are going to be talking about that and its impact on what the series will look like overall. And if we have time later in the episode, we are going to be talking about where we stand in 2024 and going into 2025 on just the culture war in general. 2024 has been a really weird mix-up year where we've had a lot more like cultural successes in entertainment, and we actually have something to look forward to. What does that mean for where we stand on these certain issues? We want to talk to you guys, the audience, and let you guys understand where we are coming from with this, just so that we're all on the same page going into the following year, and you guys can know who you guys are supporting with your likes and subscriptions. So, as we're getting into all of that, let's first jump into our first major announcement. After our this is now we have finished, or we're finishing up our second year on the channel, and we are finally opening up the Third Party Studios merchandise store. We have several cool designs for the t-shirt, including the return of the Vanguard design, which was our giveaway t-shirt, our limited edition giveaway t-shirt for 2023 when we hit the 150 subscriber milestone for the channel. This is the ultimate or the unlimited edition of the shirt, so it does not have the Vanguard marker. That signifies that you were one of the first 150. There are only 22 of the original designed shirts out there in the world somewhere. I think a couple of us have one of them. Otherwise, this is the unlimited edition. Feel free to order, enjoy the design. I love it. I think it was really cool and reminiscent of when we were first getting started with the other art styles that we had chosen. There's a lot of other cool products on the channel, or products on the store as well, including the main logo design, the amateur creator series, the main characters design, which is one of my favorites. Cody has looked over some of these. Cody, of the designs that we have so far, which one's your favorite design? Is it the main characters?
I'm a simplistic guy. I go with the main logo.
The main logo. So this one would be Cody's blow up design. We have, or this one's going to be
the smaller main logo.
Or the smaller made logo. So yeah, we have that. We have the amateur creator one. I love this design. I think it's simple. It's clean. It's really just the point of the channel when we were kind of first talking about getting it started was we wanted a place where we could have conversations about pop culture and everything. But I also wanted to endeavor to create our own projects. We have a lot of cool things coming into the works in 2025. I'm really excited to start sharing that stuff with you. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Most of it is still in like early stages of development, but we have a lot coming down the pipeline, and I hope you guys will be here to join us on that journey. But the amateur creator shirt is designed to be for you guys. You guys as the audience can walk around and proclaim that you guys have your own creative projects that you guys want to bring to the forefront, and we can represent and show the world that we are an army of small independent creators that are all just trying to create and build a world of good entertainment and supplant the mainstream content that's out there right now that just seems to have this absolute animus towards the fandom and the fan base. Cody's other design he kind of liked was the simpler design with the logo on the left design, and across the back of the shirt, and they come in different colors too, but across the back of the shirt we have our signature, our catchphrase, "Go tell your stories." We want to make sure that people know who we are and what we're doing here, and that they feel like they can be a part of that journey too. So if you guys think these shirts are cool, you can support the channel by purchasing one of them, and you get a really awesome shirt. The first designs that came out last year when we did the 150 subscriber milestone. We're super comfortable. They were really light. You can wear them in all purposes. They are very fast to arrive, or they have quick shipping, so you guys can get these before the new year. They come in a lot of a maximum variety of sizes and a good variety of colors as well. So I think we'll have something for anybody here who wants to support the channel. The link to the merchandise store is at the top of the description in this video, so go check it out. Let us know your thoughts. If you guys think or have any questions about the designs, just message us. Let us know in the comments below what design is your favorite. If you guys are going to be repping any of the merch for the store, and that's what we'll, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy that going forward. This will be where we potentially add additional merchandise, so keep a lookout for updated content on the store as well. Our second major announcement. After 2 years, we are actually going to be doing another giveaway for the channel. So the original giveaway for the channel was the 150 subscriber milestone. We have partnered with a contact from XS Energy Drinks through Amway, and they are going to be giving us a free variety pack to give away to you guys, the subscribers, and hopefully just to build value. Disclosure, we are not getting anything from XS. They're not paying us. This is not a sponsorship. This is not something that's going to pay back the channel. The point of this partnership with XS was to give better value to you guys, the audience. That's the whole point. Hopefully with participation in the giveaway, you guys will get something out of this that you guys will enjoy and like. We have tested these drinks and tested the flavor. We really like them. Matt, you got a sample pack as well. What was your favorite? What was your favorite flavor out of the XS Energy drinks that you tried?
I'm a simple guy. I like the soda flavors, pretty much all of them, but black cherry was definitely up there.
I just drank dragon fruit this morning, and I really liked that one. The watermelon lemonade was really good as well. I think my favorite was the root beer flavor. So obviously the variety pack will come with a lot of choices. Love to know what your guys' favorite is. Here's the rules for the giveaway. So it's going to be more of a contest / giveaway. If you want to participate in the giveaway, comment on any of the videos starting today, and if your comment receives the most likes between now and when we figure out who the winner is, you will receive the variety pack of the XS Energy drinks. So you'll receive the variety case. In order to claim your so just for clarification, starting today, including this video and any videos we post between now and January 1st, comment on the video. If your comment receives the most likes, you will be the winner. And in order to claim your prize, just follow us and direct message us on X. In order to claim your prize, we will be announcing the winner on January 1st in a post and the following weekend through the third-party podcast. So make sure to follow along with that. Comment on every video. Let us know your thoughts on the topics. And if your comment gets the most likes and most engagement, you will be the winner. Simple rules. And just wanted to make sure that we're providing a better value to you guys as the audience. So hopefully that's something you guys like. If you do like that, if we do continue to get good engagement, our contact with XS says they will continue to happen. So please support the channel by commenting your thoughts on the topics below. And yeah, with all of that, all of those announcements out of the way, let's jump into our weeks. So Cody, what has your week been like? What has your week been like? First week of December, it's out of the way.
First week of December. Wow, so you went by quick. Not a whole lot. The only thing interesting, really, is that Marvel dropped a new 6v6 hero shooter,
Yes,
Marvel Rivals. It's a third-person shooter, a lot like Overwatch, but fuck me, it's fun.
Yes,
I'm having a really good time with it.
Stupid fun.
Matt, have you been playing it too?
Yeah, a lot.
I'm hearing. Okay, so first off, I watched gameplay of it as well. Like I was watching Cody while he was playing it, and this game, free to play, does look so fun. It looks insane, but it looks like a 100% ripoff of Overwatch. I don't have a problem with that because the Overwatch 1 was obviously a cult following, a cultural phenomenon. It was amazing, and then they ruined it. But this game looks exactly like Overwatch. I can't find a distinction. If you just did a season,
I disagree.
It looks exactly the same. How could you disagree? Cosmetically, it looks exactly the same.
Everything is third person. There's amazing team up like mechanics. Everything is
Destructible
way more,
terrain.
yeah, destructible environment. The character designs are just like overall better, I'll say, than Overwatch.
Maybe
Yeah,
it's me
I'm
then.
digging the character designs.
So I'm insane here. This game doesn't look like a ripoff of Overwatch. Like first up, the
I mean,
first
you can call any hero shooter a ripoff of Overwatch, but
okay, fair
it's
point.
like
Fair
it's
point.
almost like calling any game that plays like Souls a Soulsborne ripoff.
Yeah,
Fair.
It's more of a genre that was created by one game.
Okay, fair.
played a ton of Overwatch, so
Well, the mechanics operate like first off, the first person, third person thing. I get that. That's actually a legitimate point. My main contention with that is like when I'm watching who was it? Was it Captain America? Cody, who were you playing that had like the Reinhardt shield? It was the first thing I saw when I walked in.
Doctor
Well,
Strange.
Captain America has one. Doctor Strange has one. Magneto has one that lasts like 3 seconds, but
But so the
Fair.
Reinhardt thing was like it looked exactly the same to me. The
some heroes will play the same.
okay.
But
But I'm insane. I'm insane that this game does not remind you guys of like cosmetically, like there's not a huge overlap cosmetically between this and Overwatch. I think it's so obvious. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I accept it. I've been wrong. I've been wrong before once.
you almost said that you've been wrong a lot, and I agree with that.
No,
First.
I didn't say it though. You just made that up. That is not what I said. That's fake news.
Yeah, man, this game's been fun as shit. I think I put like 7 hours in it last night.
Well, honestly, free to play. So Matt,
Ranked hasn't dropped yet, so like just queuing into a game, solo queuing. It's like balls to the wall, pick whatever hero you want. There are no like designated roles yet. I don't know if they'll
Mhm.
change that in ranked, but it's kind of batshit insane and just fun. No one's getting like super bent out of shape of how their team is comprised.
well,
Yeah.
So
I like the
And there's
takes
no
on the
FOMO
characters.
bullshit.
Right. Okay. So I mean, this might be a game that makes an appearance on the fact that it's free to play. Might make this a contender for one of the upcoming Sunday Slackers. So if you guys are still having fun when we have an opening for this game, we'll.
yeah, so this is free to play, and yet Concord that dropped was another hero shooter. It was $40 to play,
Yeah.
and this feels more of a like a complete game.
Yeah, I was looking at that. This game looked like it was ready, like just out of the box, good. Okay,
I didn't have any issues like lag or bugs or
load
getting
time.
dropped out of games. Nothing yesterday.
All right. Well, that's awesome, man. Okay, Matt, what have you been up to this week?
Marvel Rivals.
You, so you guys both jumped into this game, huh? I mean, you said you played it, so I was just, but I didn't know how much of it you guys have both invested into it. I'm on the Discord a fair amount, and not this week I haven't, so I guess I haven't been keeping up with what the group's been playing. But are you?
Yeah.
But,
I wasn't even aware of this game until like a couple days ago. Like I forgot all about it, and then it just popped up on my PlayStation Store. I'm like, wait, this is coming out? When the hell is this coming out? Like, oh, in like 3 hours. All right,
but hey, right now.
right now.
This game,
Yeah, it had a peak player base of 444,000, and it's been steady for the past 2 days. So
this game looks
One
like
of the-
one I would love to play. I mean, I enjoyed Overwatch for a couple of characters. Like I played Overwatch incorrectly, but I loved doing it. I loved playing as is it Moira and who's the Sentinel chick that was like a healer, and then she like swapped back and forth between classes. She deploys those little drones that just lock on and do laser damage consistently.
oh, you played the most 2 annoying characters.
Yes. Okay, I want to have this argument with anyone in the chat in the comments who's an Overwatch fan. Moira is miscategorized as a healer. I understand that she's one of the best healers. She's miscategorized. She should be a DPS character who can do healing, not a healer who can do big DPS. She's miscategorized. She should be a DPS character. She does more like
He's my main.
yeah, she's insane.
My main character.
I think they when they rebalanced it such that you can control the speed of the orbs you were sending out. So like you hold longer, it moves slower. Or it's like a charging thing, and then that charge dictates the speed of the orb that flies out. I think that was a decent balance for her. But I love those AoE damage characters. They're so good. And the idea that's like, we need Moira on healing. I was like, dude, I am killing like 20 times what the DPSs are killing. Why have a single DPS in the party when Moira can just level whole teams of medium to low skill players? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me why people are like, you're on Moira? Well, we need you to be healing. I was like, well, you have 2 healers. I chose this as our second DPS character. So we need 2 tanks. One, we
I
need
would switch to Moira if my DPS were missing their shots and had basically negative damage. I'd be like, okay, we need to level the playing field. I'm switching to Moira.
Yeah, and then I cannot remember the name of the Sentinel person, but I would do that as well. Just deploying the drones, just getting free kills off of the fact that they're being swarmed and they can't do anything. Oh, I loved it. I might be the most evil player for almost anything because, you know, in Magic the Gathering, I play a blue deck, a blue control, like just not allowing my opponent to play. In Yu-Gi-Oh, I play a mill deck designed to like get rid of your opponent's deck so they have no cards to play with and just stall out until I can get rid of all their cards. So I'm like the most evil player in almost any game I play. It's almost all cheese is how I like to play typically. So like even in Bannerlord, I would max out with archers in other gameplays, and I just had so much fun with the archers. And then they balanced it and gave them limited ammo, which fine. It's a better experience for everybody. I get it. It's fine.
Yeah, and Rivals so far, I haven't really come across a character that fucking annoys the shit out of you or is like toxic or anything like that.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, I've only been playing against like shit Spider-Man, so.
No, not me, dude. So that's how I found out. So Scarlet Witch is very, very similar to Moira in how she plays. You don't have to like aim at someone directly. They just have to kind of be in front of you and then it zaps to them. So she's a great Spider-Man counter. Because this dude is just zipping all over the screen, just fucking. You get a web. You get a web. You get a web. Just Oprah Winfrey, just fucking pissing on you. She's a good counter. For
Everybody here gets humpback whales. Sorry.
One that kind of sucks is Jeff, because like his ult, he just grabs the whole team and throws them off the map.
My name is Jeff.
My name is Jeff. Yeah, the fucking shark.
Jeff the shark.
Other than that,
So the
like dog shark thing.
yeah.
So I mean, you guys have just been rivals, Marvel rivals. I mean, I'm excited for another game. I'm glad that this game to me is just a replacement of Overwatch. That's all I see when I look at this game. Free to play. I love it. The mechanics look so identical. It looks like there's good variety, a lot of customization, a lot more that it can do. All good things.
Yeah, I'll probably put in another 12 hours after we're done with this podcast.
So I'm excited to try it. Let me tell you. So my week, for my week, I was looking at like playing Baldur's Gate 3. I have finally surpassed. Like I've finally gotten further in Baldur's Gate 3 than I ever have before. In all of the campaigns I've ran, I have finally made it past my milestone. So I'm in new territory for myself.
The Underdark or whatever it's called.
Yes, I went to the Underdark. I went down past the Grimforge, and now I'm in the very dark place and everything. Where just existing down there can get you killed if you don't have
The
light sources.
Underdarker.
The more darker, the darkest, the Underdarkest. I'm enjoying exploring that territory, and it's cool to see new puzzles that I have not encountered before. And my characters are now level 7. So I'm actually like I switched my party up to yesterday night. I switched my party up, so I was originally running Shadowheart, Lae'zel, and who was my third? Oh, Astarion. Astarion for the sneak attack damage, Lae'zel for the like mix up, get in there for deep combat, and Shadowheart for the AoE damage with Spirit Guardians. And then my sorcerer just doing all the damage I could, basically spending every scroll I have trying to survive. And then I mixed it up, and now I got Karlach, Will, and who was my other replacement? Karlach, Will, and did I keep Shadowheart? I think I kept Shadowheart, and I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm going to switch Shadowheart out for Gale. And the reason I brought Karlach and Will into this is because right now we're about to go into Moonrise Towers and try to save Will's dad. And so I thought,
Will has a dad? Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's the Grand Duke of Baldur's Gate. I can't remember his name. He's actually canonically very important in the D&D universe as a character. So the inclusion of him was something who originally, when I encountered it, I thought was really cool. Now I'm just kind of like, okay, this will be an interesting NPC to engage with. So Baldur's Gate has occupied the majority of my free time. Otherwise, it's just been trying to get the merchandise store up and running this week. So it's just been like tinkering, just a lot of tinkering over the week, coming off the holiday. And so yeah, it's been a fun week, guys. I've been having fun this week. But
Hell, see.
should we jump into our first story? Are you guys excited? Give me your war face.
Let's. This is my war face.
I want to call you. What's that? What's that Vince Vaughn scene? Oh my god, I fucked it up. It's the Vince Vaughn scene when he's talking about I'm gonna call you like Indian or something, or I'm gonna call you are you guys not at all with me on this?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Vince Vaughn plays like a drill sergeant in a movie, and I think it's Hacksaw Ridge. It's the one
I
where
haven't seen it.
okay, then I'm just fucking up here. I am so sorry to people who are boo. Talks, you suck. You suck, nerd. All right, let's jump into our first story. We have got to be talking about XDefiant. You know that was going to be what we were leading with, because this channel's relationship with XDefiant goes back a ways. Goes back over the years since it's been out. We played the early access. We played the closed beta. We promoted the series. We actually got like the exclusive like artwork and stuff that they were giving to content creators who were trying to promote the series. And I was singing this video game's praises when it was first starting to come out, and it was hearkened as the Call of Duty killer, the COD killer, because everyone at that point was so pissed off. Not everybody. There's I don't know why I'm feeling the need to give a qualifier to that, but you had a lot of Call of Duty fans who were just pissed off with how Call of Duty was working. They were releasing buggy games. They were switching up the gameplay to really prioritize the Warzone experience over the multiplayer experience. They were getting rid of campaigns or doing a bad job with campaigns. And they were also getting into identity politics with the BLM stuff, with the LGBT stuff. And it was just getting immersion breaking skins. It was too much. And a lot of people were like, I'm just done. I actually, after Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, I played Cold War and enjoyed that plenty fine, but then I just stopped. I took this last October pre everything here with XDefiant and pre Black Ops 6. I did buy Modern Warfare 3 in order to game with my brother, and that was a birthday request of his. So it was that's what that was, but it was not something I actually wanted to play, but I had a very fun time playing with him. We had a good experience. It was a very, very fun. But I had been a part of that boycott of Call of Duty. I was like, I'm never picking up another Call of Duty game. And when I started seeing news about XDefiant first coming out, it was actually looking like they were marketing themselves as a COD killer. You had Ubisoft, which was I wouldn't say they didn't have issues, and people didn't have reasonable concerns about Ubisoft being the ones to make it, but you had hope that another big studio was taking on the first-person shooter experience and going to give us a relatively complete, enjoyable experience with a first-person shooter. And what everybody really wanted from this was just an OG Call of Duty experience. I think everyone had reasonable understanding that it was not going to be exactly like that, but that was the goal, right? That was the plan. That's what the fans wanted, was we wanted an OG COD experience, and Ubisoft was going to try to deliver, and they hearkened to the name COD Killer. Well, that failed spectacularly, and I turned from one of this game's biggest supporters to one of this game's most vehement critics, because once we started seeing once we got past the early access and we got into like the closed beta, and then we got into the early access, and then once we came to launch, it was more and more obvious as time went on, even after the delay, because they had almost a year where they put it off as well. It was more and more obvious this was just going to be a hero shooter, that it was going to be every character has custom perks and stuff like that that makes them unique. You can min-max your team by comboing those. Some of the abilities are super broken, so you would see all characters running the spider bot, or all characters running the flame, the Molotov, all sorts of stuff like that. And it got super annoying incredibly quick. There were also bad mechanics, but like B-hopping was a big problem in the game, because like the hit markers, like you'd get hit markers. The time to kill was super high, so it was really hard to get. It was really hard to get kills in a reasonable amount of time, especially if the targets were moving as much as they were allowed to in it in the beginning.
Unless you got the one-shot sniper.
You got the one-shot sniper. Exactly. There's so many issues that happened with that game in the early access and in the first release. Now, to XDefiant's credit, their community engagement was really good. Their community engagement was really good. They couldn't change what they had built. They couldn't go back and turn the clock back. And I think what they had to work with, they did the best they could with what they had to work with. I don't blame the community managers at all for what happened here. It was a faulty game. And I think the community managers, like on X, I followed them all. They were talking about like the season updates. They were talking about revisions they had made to the game. They were talking about new maps they were releasing. I think the community managers did everything they possibly could to mitigate the damage that was done, because Ubisoft had a mandate from the audience that they wanted an OG COD experience, and they decided to instead make a hero shooter. And I'm not at all... I think that this was just a miscommunication between the fandom and the studio, because I think the fandom was very, very clear about what they wanted from Ubisoft in this game, and Ubisoft didn't connect the dots. They were like, oh, but we'll also give them this and also give them that. And they over-delivered, and it underperformed. So here's the...
I feel like Ubisoft has been kind of just quitting also. Like they could put in the extra effort to make it work.
I think
they're dying as a studio, so...
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And that's because they're quitting on games that have potential, and they're just like, it didn't make this much money.
I think XDefiant falls out of that category specifically. Like, first off, I don't disagree with your sentiment that, yes, Ubisoft is really ceding ground when they shouldn't be on games that could still be successful if they just got their shit together and just understood what their community was built on, like as far as like what their fans actually want. I think they could. The problem with XDefiant is that they if they were interested in keeping the game going, which they should still, I don't know. We have two stories that will cut, two more articles to pull up on this, but I don't think XDefiant could ever have been successful, because the audience that they needed in order for this game to survive, from a financial aspect, the audience they needed was the audience that was saying, we want an OG COD experience, and they delivered the wrong thing. As much as I appreciate what the community managers were doing as far as like great communication with the audience, trying to build better maps, trying to fix the bugs, you don't like...
God, their maps suck.
Yeah. I don't want a hero shooter. I wanted a Call of Duty alternative. I wanted an arcade shooter with... I didn't have any unreasonable expectations. I don't think Slim did either, because Slim was with me on like the early access gameplay, and then we forced Cody to play that one time he didn't want to. So we had
the game 4 different times.
Exactly. So I mean, I think that they missed the mark so wide on this, and I think that the audience who would be receptive to a hero shooter is too small. I think that the audience who want a hero shooter aren't big enough to sustain this game on their own. And the people who wanted an OG COD experience are not coming back, and they're not going to be given what they want. If XDefiant removed all of the perks, if they nuked all the perks, you had simple weapon customization, and I'm not greedy. Like, I'm just talking maybe like 2-3 scopes, maybe different magazines to extend, like to increase your mag design, like the Modern Warfare 4 weapon customization, like 5 guns in each category and like 3 attachments for each like attachment class. I mean, something very, very small, something very, very simple.
Another problem is that this game was gonna die regardless because of how well they did with Black Ops 6.
True.
So Call of Duty kind of had a big comeback.
And I'm
still playing Black Ops 6, so
I got everything I wanted from Black Ops 6. Everything I've been complaining from Call of Duty for a while, I got from Black Ops 6, except, Matt, your point earlier about like the skins breaking immersion. I still think that's a little stupid, but as far as like, I don't think all of these skins belong in here, but I understand what's happening. I understand it's Activision trying to get as much grinding coin out of this as they can. It's one of their
Fortnite's fault.
Yeah. It's Fortnite's fault, exactly. But I got almost everything I wanted out of a Call of Duty experience from Black Ops 6, and I think they rebuilt a fair amount, not all of their goodwill, but I think they rebuilt a lot of their goodwill. And so I think the door is closing on competitors who are trying to take advantage of the anxiety against Call of Duty, which was, this game being called the COD killer. I think the fact that the fandom for Call of Duty is starting to gravitate back towards Call of Duty, you missed your window to create a competitor. That's what I think. If it's cheap, okay, cool, that's a good start. But you would need this game to actually be competitive with Call of Duty. You would need to go back as far to basics as you possibly could in order to start. And at that point, what are we doing? Like, that's where I'm at. We would need Call of Duty to make more flops before this game would have a legitimate shot at taking back the fandom. Unless the argument is there are enough people who want hero shooters and a new hero shooter. I don't think that audience is big enough.
I think it is.
It is, but it's just got like this to be a hero shooter, you almost need like this oversaturated, like colorful, very well designed like art style, kind of like Rivals. But
yeah, I was just gonna say, like, we could bring up I was like, let me pull up the heroes again. Let me pull up some of the heroes. Like, yeah, you got really, really well designed characters, and really good optimization between abilities, and really good variety in abilities. Yeah, XDefiant failed.
Getting at here is, so XDefiant is not a bad game, first off, and for games like For Honor, which probably have like 5,000 concurrent players every day, XDefiant, Ubisoft is looking at it and saying it's so bad, it's performing so horribly that we have to take the servers, like we have to bring it down. But For Honor, which all three of us here agree is a good game.
Oh, I love it.
They put effort into reviving that. Like, they could have just pulled the plug however many years ago. What was that, like 5-6 years ago? If not more.
I see what you're saying.
It came out.
I see what you're saying.
So, like, why didn't they just try to develop it into having its own identity? It doesn't have to dominate. It doesn't have to do better than Call of Duty. It doesn't have to be the Call of Duty killer. That phrase in itself, only Call of Duty is going to kill itself.
Right.
It's way too big.
I think
no other game is going to come in here and just be like, yep.
And I got
like
that.
Overwatch did, because Overwatch ended up killing itself.
Well, and I got that's a sentiment I've heard from a lot of people when we were talking about XDefiant and the COD killers. Like, you can't take down Call of Duty with a game like this. I was like, you're misunderstanding the point. It's not that we need it to kill Call of Duty, because, and I this wasn't my first thought, but to your point, Matt, you're correct. These big studios have to like self-immolate almost. It's like have to set themselves on fire. We didn't need that. We needed a competitor that could steal. If XDefiant took, what's a reasonable amount? If XDefiant took 5% of the market share from Call of Duty, that would be enough to sustain XDefiant and grow that franchise significantly. You like 5% of Call of Duty's player base just migrating over to a game like XDefiant is enough to build XDefiant up. Then you go fast forward 3 years and they've taken 10%. Like, Google has so many competitors for a search engine, yet they're never going to be less than like 90% of the market share, 80% of the market share, because you also have to consider that YouTube is also technically a search engine, and it's as big or bigger than Google as a like search engine to search engine. And then you have Bing, you have DuckDuckGo, you have all these other search engines, you have all these other search engines. They're never going to steal more than like 5%. They don't need to. They only need to steal 5% to be relevant, to be effective.
Stable.
Exactly. You only need that much of the market share to sustain yourself. Exactly. So I think I understand COD Killer was definitely it definitely set a wrong expectation in people's minds as far as what we were talking about as people who are trying to promote the game. But I mean, I said this very early on. We didn't have an expectation that this was literally going to end Call of Duty. That was not what we even wanted. We wanted competition, variety, and we wanted our OG arcade shooter experience back. Call of Duty said they were never going to give that back to us, so some of us left, and we didn't have another option. And then Because even Call of Duty was going back and killing all of these old server hosting platforms that were operating on third-party server hosting platforms. So Call of Duty went back and shut down the Black Ops 2 servers that were being hosted by, oh God, I'm never going to remember the names of the actual hosting platforms. But yeah, you had a bunch of third-party entities that were hosting multiplayer lobbies for these OG Call of Duty games, and Call of Duty went through and just killed them all. So you couldn't go back and have a multiplayer experience on OG Black Ops 2, Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4, World at War. You couldn't go back to those old games and actually have a multiplayer experience, and that was intentional. And
what they need to do is, like, instead of saying there's a Call of Duty killer, which is like, we all imagine, oh, they're bringing down Activision. Good luck with that. They need to change it, like the phrasing, to like killing the urge to play Call of Duty, because that's what I look for in FPS. If I get tired of Call of Duty, I've mentioned it before, I play Hunt Showdown, which is like the polar opposite
right,
of fucking Call of Duty, dude. I got a janky ass bolt action rifle with 5 rounds to spare versus a 60 round mag with 300 rounds to spare. It's like, give me a game that kills the urge to play Call of Duty. I don't want that instant satisfaction. I want a slow burn with like rewarding mechanics within the game. Call of Duty is all just instant satisfaction. Boom, 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 boom. Every 5 seconds, something's happening.
Well, okay, so I want to clarify, like, just what you're comparing.
Need a different dopamine trip.
But Call of Duty has evolved, right? So I want to know which version of Call of Duty your contention is with. Are you talking about the entirety of the Call of Duty experience from 1 to current generations, or are you talking about the modern version of Call of Duty where it's slot machine mechanics? Because I mean, if I said that I want to go back to
season 1,
well, if I said I want to have a first-person shooter, arcade shooter experience, and I say like Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 1, are you talking about that as well? Are you saying that mentality is also an issue? Like we should get away from all arcade shooter Call of Duty experiences going back to the OG? I just want to be clear about which iteration of COD you're talking about.
Everything past Warzone Season 1, because let's even the introduction of more than 100 players, that means you're always getting into a fight. There's not that slow burn of like,
right.
We'll take an extreme example of PUBG, where it's basically a running simulator. You get in one gunfight, you're dead. Oh, right. Cool. Yep. Let me go back to the lobby and just redo this. But when you win those gunfights, it feels good. Like a battle royale with a classic mechanic of even dropping it down to like 50 players. Like the feel of never being safe. If I get complacent, I am dead. Sucks. But it's also like engaging, because you're like, they could be anywhere. They could be in this bush. They could be in this tree. You go play Warzone right now, every building, there's someone in there.
Well,
every building. You
guys will remember, sorry, I was pulling up I think you guys will remember this picture here, Block, from Call of Duty COD 4 Modern Warfare. Time to kill in this map was really low in the OG COD experience. You could actually run like the perimeter of the map and survive. You can get into fights, but you could survive. Then you can find a corner to camp. You will live a fair amount of time on this map versus, say, other maps in Call of Duty. I mean, map design also was a big part of the time to kill experience and what made COD fun. So bad map design plays a small role in this. I think the mechanics play a bigger role, to your point. But I think that this experience with Block and with all these OG COD maps and with just the older COD where you could run around the map. I mean, there's Overgrown was a huge map. Even Crash. I mean, Crash is a huge map. You can run around. You can survive. You can explore some of the map before finding an encounter, and then you have a legitimate chance to win. Your chance to win is still good because the mechanics you were limited by the mechanics of the game, not the mechanics of the game were limited by. So modern mechanics allow for so much abuse of like mobility, right? Like if you can move better, you will survive encounters. Well, some players want to just shoot. They want the same balance of like the mobility limited the skill ceiling such that everyone was still on the same playing field and it didn't feel like you were just losing at every encounter because the other guy could hit the WASD combos better. So I think that's a part of it as well as in the COD experience is the map design. With every other game, they just do a bad job now. Black Ops
Well,
6
I mean,
have to do a
you
good
can
job.
have, yeah, you can have multiple experiences when it comes to like Black Ops 6. Like if you just want that fast-paced run and gun, you got like Nuketown, you got Hardcore Nuketown, which you can just shoot through buildings and clip people.
exactly. Well, that's
Or you can switch over to Search and Destroy. With Core, you have way more survivability, so you can get into a fight and escape it, and fights last longer, and you're always kind of at the edge of your seat. So, oh,
Well, so just to summarize the news of this event is XDefiant XDefiant is officially shutting down their servers as of June 2025. So they have 6 months left to go before they shut down. A lot can happen in that window of time. Maybe they get a resurgence. I doubt it.
why would you announce it 6 months out though?
That's
Like coming from like a big evil corporate like mindset, it's like why don't you wait till the last second so you have players and people still spend money on it?
Well, I think that's a part of it. So, from that Park Place on the same story, Ubisoft CEO Yves fails to provide an update on XDefiant after game's executive producer admitted player counts are down. This story is over a month old. It's from back in October. But the experience that player counts were diminishing, that's been happening. That's old news. You had other games from Ubisoft failing in October and November. Famously, what was the famous Outlaws, Assassin's Creed Shadows? Is that dead? That's still coming, right? That's still coming in like February.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, but yeah, XDefiant losing their player count was definitely something that was contributing to this. And again, I think their community management did well. They had season plans, they had intentions, they had ideas about growth and a plan. I just think the audience is done. I don't know what it would take to bring them back. With For Honor, they only had bugs to fix. For Honor's mechanics out of the gate were addicting as hell because it was a very skill based. It was very fun variety. The game modes had a fun game loop so that your experience was the same, but it was still enjoyable every time you did it. The issue with For Honor out of the jump was that they did player-to-player hosting of servers, and you had so many technical issues. All you had to do to rescue that game was double down on fixing the technical issues. Now, I didn't return until like 6 years later, 5 or 6 years later, but that's all the community wanted was for the game to mechanically function. They didn't have a tall order on that one. Unlike XDefiant, which seems to be having
the game.
Well, they have a category error with even what genre they're in and what their audience is. You have they have a crisis of identity about what category they even want to be in. The people who were promoting this game the hardest were actually people who wanted to take market share from Call of Duty. I think you'd agree with me on this though, Matt, is that when this game was being promoted, the most amount of support came from people who had an axe to grind with Call of Duty. It was not the community who wanted another hero shooter, right? Those are two separate categories of supporters. The Call of Duty, the COD killer category, if we want to call it that, was the most outspoken and the most supportive of this project.
Of those two, yes.
Okay, like that. I just wanted to make sure we were at least on the same page with that, because I think that XDefiant could brand themselves harder as a hero shooter, double down on a lot of what they're doing now, but I don't know what they could fix. They have already fixed the majority of their bugs, as far as I understand it. They've already committed to improving and putting out new maps. They've done a better job with balancing. They've already created what I understand to be the most polished version they reasonably could. So I don't know what else they could do. Like the For Honor comparison, they had an obvious glaring issue, and once that was fixed, there you go. It just took time for people who were burnt out on the game to come back after those issues. But what would you recommend them fix after all of those things I've already mentioned? Like, what would they do next? Just marketing?
Yeah, so I mean, you using the word fix, I don't feel like is suitable because I don't feel like it's a broken game.
Well,
It's not performing the way that they wanted.
well, just to clarify, I mean the fix would be with the mobility. They had mobility issues, such that b hopping and mobility made the hitboxes so unhittable that it really messed with the player experience. That's just one issue that was there. I would say the balancing of the abilities with the guns was always an issue. And I think they've more or less fixed that. I'm sure there's still a meta in the game where you play this ability with this gun and you will win more often than not. So I'm sure there's still a meta, but balancing was a player killing experience. Like that was a player would be done because they were sick of getting attacked by the spider or sick of getting burned by the Molotov. And I can pull those two references up, and everyone who's played knows exactly what I'm talking about, because those abilities were abused and they were overpowered, and that needed to be balanced. So I think there will be a meta, but I think that the balancing was so out of whack, and they obviously acknowledged that and went in to fix that. So I would say that those two are specifically what I'm referring to. The map design is another one.
I'm a big believer that not every game is for everybody. First off, so just because even if it is a majority of the players don't like your game, that doesn't mean it's a bad game. That just means it's not for those players. Again, I'm going to bring up Hunt Showdown. But it's by Crytek, legendary developers.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not for everybody. Not everyone wants to crouch walk through a swamp with fucking everything trying to kill you in a voodoo zombie, not like late 1800s setting. That's just not for everybody. They will never have even 5% of the Call of Duty population.
Right, and I think that was
Crytek understands that.
But I think that for XDefiant, that was both a marketing issue that they had going into it, because that was what they were committing to, and they over delivered, and that was what ruined the experience for the people who were expecting a COD killer. So they had a marketing issue out of the gate. They should have really focused on the Tom Clancy's just extended universe. Yep.
And from there, because there's so much in Tom Clancy.
Yeah.
Like they already have a bunch of the different factions. Just really dial down on that.
I think the marketing issue is the only thing that really held them back from having I would say the launch was mostly successful, except that if you cut out the debate about the hero shooter versus arcade shooter, in a vacuum, it was mostly successful. If you remove the obvious issues about the marketing out of jump. But your point about this game not being for everybody, yeah, you're right. You're entirely correct that this game would definitely have done better if they had marketed this game as a Tom Clancy expanded universe and leaned into that. I probably personally would not have played it because I'm not a huge Tom Clancy. Like I didn't love Rainbow Six Siege at all, and I think what's the Division was probably the one I liked the most, and I actually really enjoyed the Division. So I think if they had leaned into that, you definitely would have seen the
Tom Clancy fanboys.
Yeah, the correct audience.
That would have been your market.
Yeah, and I think it would have been much more successful. And they probably still could get to that if they fixed their marketing on that front. Yeah, but you were definitely marketing to the wrong audience. You would need to take these next 6 months and really try to connect with those guys.
It'd be dope if they had game modes that were like, this is the Splinter Cell game mode, and it's 2 teams of however many people, and they're all just those like super spies. So you have to find the enemy team, like a team deathmatch.
Yep.
In the Splinter Cell universe would be fucking kind of nuts.
That would
that would be fucking crazy.
And you could do that. You could do that with almost all of the universes. Like you could have you could call it like a universe and just split off into different segments of the Tom Clancy experience. So you could do that with like the Division universe. You could do that with Rainbow Six Siege. You could do that with what you were saying.
And then like a true free for all.
Tom Clancy, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you're right. They could recover if they did the marketing correctly. I think they've done everything they can to try to salvage the relationship that they originally wanted with the Call of Duty players. And maybe that was the wrong decision. Maybe they should have just turned over to the Tom Clancy hard fanboys and tried to bring them in instead.
Yeah, I think they're trying to do too many things.
That's-
Ubisoft as a whole.
Yeah, they definitely have.
They're like fucking Rainbow Six Siege is like what 8-year-old game, and it's still in the top 20 streamed games right now.
Right. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's like
Steam game right now.
Well, yeah, and then you have Counter-Strike, which is never gonna fall. The mechanics are too. They've done such a good job of creating a balanced game experience with a loop that is almost addicting. Like getting a kill in Counter-Strike is so addicting because it's entirely skill reward. It's entirely a reward for getting better. And so you see your progression in your own statistics in that game. And the maps are
Yeah, I mean, it's probably why it's still #1 right now. I mean, concurrent players, it goes Counter-Strike then Dota. There's 400,000 current player difference between the two.
Yeah. Well, and
There's 1.1 million playing Counter-Strike right now.
Well, and I mean, Counter-Strike, I don't think this is true, but just to get it out there into the ether, it's Counter-Strike, obviously created by Valve. I'm pretty sure Valve owns Steam, right? Someone correct me on that. Valve is Valve owns the Steam platform.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure because I was pretty positive, but I
Throwing
wanted
that one out there, but
well, I wanted to make sure before I went too far into it. I was positive, but I needed to just double check, make sure I had that in the correct order. So obviously they get huge money from all of the skins they release. Counter-Strike is one of the biggest esports, definitely has one of the biggest prize pools. And in my experience, one of the most enjoyable to watch. So I mean, Counter-Strike is very, very far from losing any popularity. If anything, I'd say it's on the rise, considering the esports scene. Maybe it's getting oversaturated, but I don't think that's going to take away anything. I think if anything, that's going to continue to build excitement. So, and we'll see who wins with the most prominent platform. But
just a quick side note here.
Yeah.
The finals is number 98 and being played right now. It's in the top 100 still. Finals still going strong.
That's insane. No, I mean, we didn't hear any news about it being shut down or losing player base. I mean, being in the top 100 on Steam is still a huge accomplishment. There's thousands and thousands, there's tens of thousands of games on Steam. So I mean, that's still a huge accomplishment to remain there even after you've had such a diminishment in player count. But cool, good for them. That's pretty cool to hear. I did not know that.
What the fuck is Banana?
Oh, I love that story. Okay,
Because that's number 5 right now.
Banana is just a game where all you do is go in and you buy a banana for I think it's a penny, and then you own it in the Steam marketplace as some sort of in marketplace token, and then you get you just spam buying bananas and then you just have bananas. I'm pretty sure that's the game. I want to look that up so bad.
Well, you look at it in the screenshots, it just says 1 banana.
Yeah, you're just counting up bananas. But it's I think there was oh my gosh, I think Steam was very close to getting in trouble for that because it was inflating the value of items on the marketplace. Or it was either inflating or deflating. But it had something to do with the interactions with the Steam marketplace, because that's another Valve game where they basically just created the banana icon and then you can farm out the bananas, and I think that was paying Valve huge money. I might be getting some aspects of that story wrong, but people should look into that and get the correct telling of that story, because
it's retarded. There's 107,000 people doing that right now.
I think Asmongold had a video on banana. I'm gonna look. Asmongold banana.
Shit is bananas.
I'm gonna look. I'm just gonna check to see.
I don't want to be a part of the human race anymore.
Asmongold cringe banana unboxing. I might be wrong, so we're gonna pull back on that. I think I might have made it. I made a mistake. No,
Deep dive into the banana game.
Well, I want to look that story back up again. You reminded me of it. Now I'm super excited to go look into it again, and people should go look at that. The last article we have on the XDefiant story is that back from October again, we had the XDefiant executive producer claims Ubisoft has no plans to shut down after season 4, but admits numbers are down. So this is the admission that we kind of knew player count was diminishing. But this was an actual retort to the idea that they'd be shutting down, and it wasn't a long time ago. It was only like a month and a half ago. So if you're going to, and I think that people are more or less, I think the reason this became an article is because I think people don't believe him. I think people don't believe him that they didn't have a plan to shut down. I mean, it's 6 months out. I feel like they had some internal conversations at this point being like, hey, we have 1 more month or we have 2 more months and I want to see our numbers improve. Otherwise, we're not going to have a choice here and talking about shutting down. I don't think that it's possible that they weren't having that conversation and setting expectations. Considering the window of time, I just don't think that's possible. So that's my sense.
Yeah, well,
Someone definitely mentioned it.
Yeah. They have
I'm
no
okay with it dying.
Maybe they had no plans to shut down. I mean, could be a good lawyer speak, but maybe they were having discussions about shutting down, but they had no plans to. I mean, that could be a good lawyer speak quote there. But yeah, guys, I think I think XDefiant is. I hope that here's what I want. I want XDefiant to rebrand itself as what you were saying, Matt, and come back as a success. I would like that for XDefiant. I don't have an issue with a game being made that people can enjoy, and I think that there is a room in the marketplace for a Tom Clancy universe expanding game. But I think that they definitely flopped on their original marketing. I think they went for the wrong player base, and they really went way too hard and gave us so much that we did not want or ask for, and it ended up biting them in the ass because people wanted a simple arcade shooter experience, and they gave us a hero shooter, which was not what they were promising. So
Ubisoft's dying. I think they should just focus on Rainbow Six, For Honor, your Assassin's Creeds, Far Cry, just those 4, good to go.
What's going to happen here is XDefiant servers are shutting down because XDefiant 2 servers are launching.
You can't do that while I'm drinking water. I mean, it's
all right, guys. Here's our big announcement.
After June 4th, before they shut down.
After 1 year, after 1 year of having XDefiant servers up and running, and with all the popular demand we had, we've decided to bring you guys the beloved sequel to the XDefiant.
Yeah, they're really trying to go for that Call of Duty. It's like release a new one every year.
It hurts because it could happen.
It could. That's the thing about
the same, but different.
It's the same. That's the thing about this timeline is that anything can pretty much happen. We got into the comments on our conversations about Elon Musk's buying of Hasbro. Well, there was a lot of engagement on that one. There was a lot of engagement on that one to talk about. That was crazy. So I mean, anything can happen in this timeline. It's a weird world, but I think
real world.
Weird world. Let's jump into our next story. Let's do it. What do you guys think? Should we do it?
Do it.
Totally, dude.
We do it. Totally, dude. All right. So we've been seeing trending on X and on other platforms talking about Paramount Plus's new series Landman, starring Billy Bob Thornton as the main character. Wow. I watched the pilot last night and I'm hard hooked. First off, before we watch, so we're gonna pull up a clip here that's been circling the internet. Started a couple of days ago, but the show has been out for a couple of weeks. They have 4 episodes published at the time of this live stream, and I did not catch up on it because Paramount Plus has released banger after banger, and yet they're still losing money. And they were in talks earlier in the year to be bought out by potentially Max. Right? I mean, Paramount Plus was potentially going to go down, and I think they're probably still in discussions about, being bought out by other platforms and studios to try to wrap into someone else. But Paramount Plus has released, in my opinion, some of the best TV shows we've gotten in the last couple of years. I'm referencing to the fact that Tulsa King, was starring Sylvester Stallone, was in the top 5 for streaming in 2024. The season 2 of Tulsa King was in the top 5 for streaming in 2024. You have Mayor of Kingstown, which was doing banger numbers on that show before Jeremy Reiner had his unfortunate accident with the snowplow. And then he's coming back to the show. My understanding is he's coming back for season 3 of that show. So, I mean, and now I have Landman. I watched the pilot and I'm hard hooked, guys. This show is awesome. Billy Bob Thornton was also in the show Goliath, which I believe was an Amazon Prime project, not Paramount. I could have those flip-flopped. I sometimes get those two mixed up between Prime Video and
It might
Paramount
have been
Plus.
Apple, actually.
Goliath? I don't
Wait,
have
did you see it?
Goliath? I watched the whole
Yeah.
show. There's 4, so there's
Oh, yeah, and you don't have Apples.
I don't have Apple, so it's definitely on one of those 2 platforms for sure. But Goliath has 4 seasons. Billy Bob Thornton plays a lawyer in that show, and he's awesome in it. And I think the premise is so freaking entertaining. So I love Goliath. I thought it was so good. So when I saw this clip circling the internet about Billy Bob Thornton doing basically a monologue on windmills in Texas, I watched it and I was like, holy shit, that was one of the most well articulated arguments against windmills I have ever seen. I mean, there's plenty to argue about, but it is so well put together. And on a TV show, it's kind of like the pilot episode shows so well the goods and the bads of the oil industry, and I think it's insane.
It kind of reminds me of that monologue that Jeff Daniels went on that one fucking TV show that went around the internet forever about how America's not number 1 in like education and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
He's just kind of like throwing down facts. Yeah,
well, I mean, honestly, you're right. That monologue spread across that scene spread across the internet pretty well as also. I had a lot of contention with some of the points he was making in it,
yeah,
where
not all of them.
I just genuinely disagreed and would love to have made an argument against it. But I mean, I'm
Education one was definitely on point. We're dumb as fuck as a nation right now.
our education is definitely in need of improvement. I'm not convinced that we're the worst among the Western countries, but I think there are definitely countries out there that are outperforming us for sure.
Mostly Asian.
Mostly Asian. It's the math. They do so good at math. That racist to say? Can I say that's that positive racism, right?
It's a positive racism. They're all engineers and doctors.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good stereotype.
It's good. All right, so what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be watching this 3-minute scene from Paramount Plus's Landman and kind of reacting to it, talking you through. We've had some technical issues with X on audio, so bear with us, guys. We are going to pretty much mute while we play the first so many seconds of this. I'll bring us back in to react to it. But yeah, I'll be able to hear you. So just holler at me if you want me to pause it. But all right, here we go.
God, they're massive.
400 feet tall. The concrete foundation covers 1/3 of an acre and goes down in the ground 12 feet.
Who owns them?
Oil companies, we use them to power the wells. No electricity out here. We're off the grid.
They use clean energy to power the oil wells?
They use alternative energy. There's nothing clean about this.
So okay, so just that line from there, they use clean energy to power the oil wells, was actually something that this poster Brent Baker on X had mentioned here, calling that out. Yeah, the windmills are absolutely horrible. Like, I love every time you talk to an environmentalist and then you just like, yeah, but they just genocide birds. And they're like, oh, we don't care about that. We need to save the planet. It's like, oh.
Yeah. We also fuck with whales and whatnot because they have them in the ocean. But that, and there's solar powered. Not that fucking efficient either.
No, there's a lot of arguments that Billy Bob Thornton's going to get into just to make sure we kind of protect ourselves from copyright. We're pausing in between just to give it thoughts. But Matt, have you seen anything about this show? Even like clips, anything? I mean, what did you know about?
Just clips.
Just the clips. So you had seen one or two or clips flown around.
Yeah, just a couple clips and Billy Bob doing what he does best.
I love
snarky comebacks.
Yeah.
Love it.
Billy Bob Thornton is amazing in almost everything. I cannot think of a single performance from Billy Bob Thornton that I didn't like. Now I'm sure not everybody's a Billy Bob Thornton fan, but I think we can say he is objectively a very, very talented actor, and he does a great job. Even if there's individual examples of people not preferring him as a person or like in a specific scene, he just does so well and carries his roles so freaking successfully.
Agreed.
We will jump right back into it.
Please, Mr. Oilman, tell me how the wind is bad for the environment.
You have any idea how much diesel they have to burn to mix that much concrete or make that steel and haul this shit out here and put it together with a 450-foot crane? You want to guess how much oil it takes to lubricate that fucking thing or winterize it? And its 20-year lifespan, it won't offset the carbon footprint of making it. And don't get me started on solar panels and the lithium in your Tesla battery.
Okay, so yeah, those are good. So yeah, instantly just simple points, right? Those are not the complex, like deep takes, right? It takes so much to get this thing assembled. It takes so much to get this thing get this thing made, produce it, put it up, transport. It's the simple stuff, right?
A lot of people's thought process when it comes to clean energy doesn't go past the point that she basically made getting out of the truck. It's like, tell me how the wind is bad for the environment. Then their mind just stops.
Yeah, it's the concrete. It's the
sun's good. It's power stuff. Wind's good at power stuff. It's like, all right.
Yeah,
that's all in depth you're gonna go with it.
That it's not an incredibly deep thought process there. It really is it's really two-dimensional. And I mean, I think you had a lot of people who are skeptical about the green energy initiatives, and I think most of the arguments against the green energy initiatives have been proven correct. Now I think even if you talk to someone who hates all the green energy initiatives, is like the biggest anti-green energy initiative person, that person will still agree with you that he or she would like clean water, clean air. Like that person would want a healthy environment around them to live their life. Like even if you had like the oil billionaires, they still don't want pollutants or trash or garbage or bad air in their area where they exist. They're not oblivious to the fact that there are pollutions. Yeah.
Dump shit down the other someone else's river or something. But
The lithium car battery thing is the most insane thing to me. I'm just like, how have we not passed on that experiment yet? Like, it's become mainstream, and I've seen several references to this in television shows about how an electric vehicle catches fire and it will burn for, I've heard it will burn for a week. I don't think that's probably
it constantly restarts itself on fire too.
Right. I've understood that that's hyperbole. I don't know what the actual facts are on how long a electrical fire inside of like an electric vehicle lithium battery takes to burn out.
Where does the lithium come from?
Slave mines in Africa, I think.
The Energizer Bunny.
The Energizer Bunny delivers eggs at Christmas.
I'd hate to call it like propaganda, but it is. It's just like you get people to think a certain way about certain items, and then they kind of stick that way. It's like, we all know how phones are made, but for some reason, like people that are like against all this shit are still like, well, I gotta get the new iPhone 26 or whatever the fuck it is.
Yep. I love the did either of you guys, I'm gonna make a reference to a clip that's been online. If you haven't seen it, no worries. But it was this mayor of a town, I think in Colorado. And she was talking about how they were putting in these new charging stations for electric vehicles, and they were so proud. They did like a ribbon cutting ceremony. They were taking questions from journalists there, and one of the journalists asked, "Where does the energy for these things come from?" And they said, I think it said it was a local power plant. And then he asked a follow-up question: "Well, what runs the power plant?" And she's like, "Coal." And he's like, "It's like." It's like, what? It's like- and like, I love it.
Yeah, we're just going about this in a very zigzag kind of way.
Yeah, it's the mental gymnastics to, like, I'm okay. In complete fairness, until I started to actually look into these green initiatives a lot more closely, I was probably in that position where it's like, oh, solar panel charges car, solar panel runs electricity in house. Cool. That sounds good to me. Wind, oh, it's up in the air. Wind comes and goes. It's not like a consistent thing you can depend on, but it sounds like it's renewable. It sounds like we can put up wind farms to get the maximum output. Now it's just about finding batteries that can store the energy well. Cool. Like those sound good. And then I started to look into and understand like the cost of development, the ROE on energy, like what it takes to construct them and how much like dirty fuel you're using, if you want to call it dirty fuel, in order to actually produce this. And I'm like, wait a minute, the math ain't math in here. I know I'm not Asian, but that math ain't math.
I'm not Asian.
That math don't math.
I went to school in America.
I went to American school. All right, let's keep going. We got a little more to go. He's making great points. Let's keep.
And never mind the fact that if the whole world decided to go electric tomorrow, we don't have the transmission lines to get the electricity to the cities. It'd take 30 years if we started tomorrow. And unfortunately for your grandkids, we have a 120-year petroleum-based infrastructure. Our whole lives depend on it. And hell, it's in everything. That road we came in on, the wheels on every car ever made, including yours, it's in tennis rackets and lipstick and refrigerators and antihistamines, pretty much anything plastic. Your cell phone case, artificial heart valves, any kind of clothing that's not made with animal or plant fibers, soap, fucking hand lotion, garbage bags, fishing boats, you name it. Every fucking thing.
Every fucking thing.
I just want to throw out real quick that, yeah, everything, but can I get some input from you guys on how well these freaking scenes are shot? Like the wind, the wind blowing in both of their
The
like
music's
faces.
great.
The music's amazing. The sun in the background on Billy Bob Thornton, the paneling of like the angling of the shots. I mean, it's just well directed. Taking away the energy debate and argument from this is such a well shot and such a well produced scene. Well directed.
It's another Taylor Sheridan show. He did Yellowstone, fucking 1923, 1883.
Yeah. I mean,
It's a lot of good shit.
Paramount is just kicking ass with the shows they're putting on it. Again, it's a shame that there's even discussions about them shutting like selling themselves off to something else. I mean, if I don't know what it would take for them to be profitable. Maybe 5 shows that are bangers isn't enough. But then I'm wondering, like, well,
No,
what
it's-
is?
You're competing with all the other big dogs too. So
True. That,
People still
it's like
exist.
the only reason Apple is still around is because it's subsidized by Apple, like Apple TV. That's the only reason why it's around. It's not making money. Amazon Studios doesn't make money.
it's just
They're like they're pet projects for these billion-dollar corporations that just have the money to do it.
yeah. Like, was it who was the Jeff Bezos buying the Washington Post? I think that's the article or the publication he purchased. Like, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna do that. It's like billionaires just buying
Well, I mean,
buying
yeah.
stuff up is fun. I like watching that happen.
Yeah, and if like say Amazon puts out a show and the general public say it's dog shit, and then you go on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, and it's great, it's because Amazon also owns Rotten Tomatoes.
I think it's IMDb. I think Amazon owns IMDb. I don't think they own Rotten
Is it?
Tomatoes. I
know it's one
think
of the scoring websites.
I'm actually pretty sure it's IMDb, but I don't know if they could. Maybe they also own Rotten Tomatoes, and I just don't know that. But I know it's IMDb because they were there's with Amazon's Rings of Power. This was a whole big thing because they were using IMDb to actually get rid of the bad reviews of the show in season 1. So when we were talking about season 1 coming out that year, that was going on with IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes has always been kind of a little bit weird with their ratings and a little hard to trust, but I think more or less,
Okay, yeah. Right.
depending on which category you're looking at, whether it's audience score or review, and the way they contrast against each other is usually your metrics for how you can determine if a show is going to be good or not. It's like, how far apart are they on this idea? Like when Deadpool and Wolverine came out, Rotten Tomatoes had a almost uniform answer of it was like in the 90th or high 80 percentile, and both the reviews and the audience, or critic reviews and the audience score were both ridiculously high. And then you have shows that it's like the audience scores 12% and the reviews are 90%. So it's Rotten Tomatoes is a weird one. But all right.
It's weird. It's weird.
Weird. All right, let's see if we can finish this one up.
And you know what the kicker is? We're going to run out of it before we find its replacement.
It's the thing that's gonna kill us all. As a species.
No, the thing that's going to kill us all is running out before we find an alternative. And believe me, if Exxon thought them fucking things right there were the future, they'd be putting them all over the goddamn place. Getting oil out of the ground is the most dangerous job in the world. We don't do it because we like it. We do it because we run out of options. And you're out here trying to find something to blame for the danger besides your boss. There ain't nobody to blame but the demand that we keep pumping it.
Fucking consumers, it's your fault.
And the birds. He didn't mention the birds.
And the birds.
And the birds. Can I get an RIP
Well,
in the chat for the
birds.
birds? I mean, damn, guys. This is,
Birds aren't real, man.
birds are just
Use petroleum to make the birds.
Yeah, made by the government.
birds fly south for the winter to have their batteries changed.
Yeah. How else do you think it works?
I do love the bird conspiracy theory. That is one of my favorites. I love that one. That one's so good. I mean, first off, like, I think green energy, I would love to know where I would love to see into the future on this one a little bit. The nuclear. That's what I'm going to talk about. Because, like,
I want nuclear.
I'm looking at nuclear and I'm like, okay, what will I know about the dangers or like risks associated with nuclear in a year, 2 years from now, 3 years from now? What will I know that I don't know now about nuclear? My understanding now is that the way we are successfully capable of producing energy from nuclear is clean and has minimum environmental risks. And we do it successfully with a lot of legislation and restrictions around it, such that the risk associated with it is mitigated and not really present anymore. I could be wrong about all three of those things, and I wouldn't know it right now. In a year, will I know? But I do understand that, like, if we could create smaller power, like just small power plants, like individual power plants that are spread everywhere rather than one ridiculously powerful one in like the west, the middle, and the east. I mean, I don't know how much one big nuclear power plant can also power either. This is the kind of thing we would need Slim on, because he's an electrician. He understands how nuclear energy works, right?
How nuclear energy works, yeah.
Nuclear.
They coincide. It's the same, pretty much.
He'll tell me. He'll know. But I would love to see if that is sustainable, if it would work, because my understanding is that they basically just take the waste, create a cement container for the waste, and bury it. And then I'm like, okay, that doesn't feel like it's the best way to do it, but maybe there's literally no other option. I was like, if we're going to be mass generating energy from this, how much of that are we going to have to do? And why are we assuming that won't eventually break away, or like why wouldn't a cement structure break after 100 years, right? Like, it'll be something our grandkids will have to deal with, but why are we assuming that won't seep and leak and break and crack after decades? So I don't know. Maybe I'm just wrong on this. I don't know about the nuclear energy thing enough to be like, that's the solution, but I feel like it's the best. I feel like it's the greenest energy that has been introduced to me that makes the most sense so far. So I'm receptive. I'm very receptive to it, and I've said as much, like in personal conversations, like nuclear makes the most sense to me. But I would love to know more. I would love to know.
I'm gonna do a bit more research, but I know we got aircraft carriers, submarines, power plants, and whatnot. All run on nuclear and do just fine. I mean, look at the Fallout universe. They had nuclear power cars.
Yeah, and that went great.
Yeah, that worked so well.
Just fine.
We don't want a post-apocalyptic world. I wouldn't mind it. It'd be fun. All right. So thoughts on Landman? Are you guys going to be checking out the series and watching the actual show? I'm watching the pilot, finished the pilot, and I'm going to be checking out the rest of the show. I am hard hooked, like instantly hooked on this show. I think Billy Bob Thornton is nailing it. I think this scene is not an isolated scene. I think it pops up because it's relevant in the world of like politics and government. And that's why it flew around everywhere. But I think the show is really well directed. The cast is very good. This is an insane power cast. I love this show so far.
I agree on everything, but I will not be watching it simply because
You're not a TV guy.
It's a one, yes. Two, another platform that I have to pay for. Pass.
Gotcha. Cody?
I'll probably be checking it out. Everyone says it's good. I think it's like 3 or 4 episodes in right now.
Yes. Yep. 4 as of last night when I started the pilot. I don't know what day the new episodes come out yet. I'll look at that and find out. But as of yesterday, 4
And
episodes
there's
out.
nothing else to watch right now.
Right.
And I need a palate cleanser after Arcane season 2.
This will be it. This is so far. This is doing really well. I'm loving this show so far. So yeah, guys, check out Landman. Strong recommend, at least as far as the pilot. It's a good hook, good premise. Billy Bob Thornton's crushing it. The cast is very much a power cast, and yeah, it's picking up in popularity just due to the fact that it's talking about pretty much mainstream relevant issues right now. All right, I think we're gonna move on to our next story. We're gonna be talking about Harry Potter. You guys, this is gonna be a fun one. I think we're gonna have
The
some.
resemblance is uncanny.
They look exactly the same. They just
Same person.
It's the same.
Corporate you need to tell corporate what's the difference in these 2 photos.
They're the same. They're the same photo. So here's the news, guys. So Harry Potter it's been announced that that Harry Potter and Max Studios has put forward an offer to Pepa Essiodu. I'm sure I fucked that up, and not intentionally, but I'm sure I fucked that up, to play as Professor Severus Snape in the Harry Potter series coming out. Now, maybe he is the most talented actor in the world, but on the race swapping thing, I've been like more receptive to it in like some of our more recent conversations about this. I think this one is probably the biggest sign that this is actually not a good faith attempt at casting. I'm not convinced. I think this was definitely an attention grab. I think they absolutely had.
Well, it's not confirmed.
No, I know.
There's talk.
It's just an offer.
So,
it's just an offer that's been put forward.
This is like the first story of casting coming out of the show that everyone's kind of looking forward to. And you said that it would be a faithful adaptation of the books.
Yes. And then you have and then you have people with the argument I've seen in the chat, in the comments on X, that it's like, show me where in the book that it says that this person's white or this person's black. And then Ryan Kinnell lists off like, here's all the characters we know are black in the series. Here's all the characters we know that are white in the series. Source and reference. And it's like,
Snape is probably one of the most described characters in the book. He's described multiple times.
Yeah.
Like your art.
I'm looking at the definition right now.
Yeah.
Tall, thin man with greasy, shoulder-length black hair, a large hooked nose, sallow skin, and cold, dark eyes.
Yeah, I can't unsee the resemblance. It's uncanny. It's like, this is like, oh my gosh. First off, do we really
You tell me who wasn't described with nappy hair?
with this casting choice, it's like you can't if they cast this character and people were like, if they cast this actor as Severus Snape and they had that description, which thank you for pulling that up, Matt, really appreciate that. If they cast this actor and then people are like, oh yeah, you could see him, he's super greasy, and people are like, you racist, he's not greasy, he's just bad, he's just really good, you can't call a black man greasy. I was like, you called the black man greasy. You put him
Everyone would be calling James Potter and his friends like racist for bullying him as a kid, whatnot.
Well, I think actually, so Ryan Kinnell, famous YouTuber, talks about pop culture conversations. He was a huge inspiration for some of the stuff we've done on the channel. We really love his work. We love his involvement with all the fellowship projects that they've been doing with Geeks and Gamers, Nerdrotic. Here's what he posted. So if this ends up being a real story, fuck this entire show. The whole point of doing this series should be so you can adapt it to be as close to the books as possible. If Snape is white, Dean Thomas, Lee Jordan, Angelina Johnson, Kingsley Shacklebolt are black. The books are beloved by millions of people around the entire world. There is no reason to change them, period. I think, like, in previous episodes, Matt, you've made the case that it's like, if it's a better actor, and we talked about that with the story around How to Train Your Dragon and the asteroid race swap. And I mean, this one I'm not willing to like say is good faith. This one, if this is legitimate, it's absolutely, because we knew that we also talked about the Harry Potter casting call and the diversity note they had in the bottom of the casting call. And we know that Max has been very ambiguous and agnostic about the racial lines of characters in this story. And that's not, you can't build a good faith adaptation if you're literally erasing the settings, the experiences of the characters, and trying to mix and match them in a brand new way to tell your own version of it.
Well, race swapping characters in this story vastly changes like histories and how the story kind of progresses.
Yeah.
Like if you do it with Hermione, there's a shitload of stuff that would be looked at wrong, and they'd have to switch around. Like her being called Mudblood all the fucking time. That would be a goddamn problem.
Exactly.
Fuck.
Mug.
I didn't even think about that.
Like
Yeah.
Muggle is already
She's trying to free the house
Already a
elves and
slur.
whatnot.
Yeah. So it's like there are connotations of not race, but like cultures. Like and I actually don't know if it's culture is even the right word, but yeah, the existence of, you know, the Mudbloods, then there's the existence of the Muggles, and then there's the Wizarding World. There's already a huge divide between all of that from its superiority complex that the Wizarding World has, where they either feel like they need to be quiet and live their life and avoid the Muggle world experience, make sure that they don't that they don't encounter magic, and then all the interactions that stem from that. I mean, and then you have.
I mean, you got like Dino reviews right here. He says they'll be shocked if the Weasleys stay ginger in the show, because
Yep.
you know everyone's got a huge reputation of changing every ginger character ever existed to a black person. But
like
if you change the Weasleys, you got the poorest family in the Wizarding World who just swap from all black.
Well, and you said it here. Like Ryan on December 4th says, can't wait till we find out James and Sirius actually hated Snape because they were fucking racists. Like that's the thing. It's unavoidable. Like it's, if you are going to remain loyal to the story while changing all of these extra facts about the setting, about the plot, about the characters, you will have all of these brand new interactions that will make no sense, and you can't avoid narratively. You can't avoid what this post specifically cannot be avoided if James and Sirius are bullying Snape. It will have to be brought up and talked about in the later seasons when you find out about it. Like, it has to be. There's no way to narratively avoid this unless you're just going to leave that stone untouched, which we know that no one in Hollywood could possibly avoid making that argument if they created it themselves. They are creating the actual racism that they say they're fighting. It's like, this is.
I bet the Malfoys stay white.
Malfoys will, yeah, the whites are the bad guys, and the blacks are the good guys, obviously, in Hollywood. I
In 90s UK at a boarding school. Yeah.
I mean, I understand that some of the casting calls can be good faith. I think it's far less common than identity politics and tokenism being put into shows. And this one, I think, kind of snaps me out of that idea and puts me back into it. I'm not at all convinced now that this stuff is still good faith anymore, or it could be good faith. It could be a money grab, but it's like, okay, so people are like, I didn't see myself as I don't see myself in this movie argument. I was like, I didn't see myself as Snape. Why are you seeing yourself as Snape?
That's just all narcissism.
It is. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, Dino reviews. I'll be shocked if Weasley stay ginger in the show.
I love Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon as a kid. It's like I didn't see myself in those characters. You didn't have to.
Well, and so you have like one of the arguments we've talked about is I don't remember the book specifying race, skin color of any of the characters, and then Ryan and other people are saying no, you should just reread because you obviously didn't catch it.
You've only watched the movies.
The temperature check argument. So Henry Jones Jr. on X says this could just be a temperature check by Warner Brothers. Hard doubt. Warner Brothers is spectacular for stepping on the banana peel and running into a Lego and blowing themselves up all at the same time. They do
really like to peg themselves. Yes.
They do not make any. They have not made any successful business moves of note in recent history that I can remember off the top of my head. So it's
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. I mean, if it's
Penguin.
Stop it. You guys both need to stop correcting me. You guys need to. No, I'm just kidding. But the Penguin, yeah, the Harry Potter. Well, Harry Potter is to be seen. We will have to wait. But are you talking about the OG Harry Potter?
OG, yeah.
Yeah. So that you're
I think
right.
They're doing all this too soon.
Well,
like the movies aren't that old. That's why I think it's just a money grab. Like they're trying to do this
everyone
series.
everyone that grew up with them are like in their 30s now, and they have kids, and so.
Yep. Well, and we knew from conversations around J.K. Rowling that, she's pretty far to the left as well. It's the only reason she ever comes off as not that is because of her position on trans issues. Otherwise, she would be the kind of entity you would expect to make these changes or push for these changes herself. So, I mean, I think her involvement in this seems to be that of a person of authority or in heavy influence. So, I mean, maybe it's her. Maybe it's her pushing the needle on this. And if she comes out and says, "Hey, all of my books are like all of my books, these characters can be changed. It doesn't like it's ultimately what I intended was going forward for the Harry Potter story to be told in a more diverse way. So that's kind of my mission." Okay, it doesn't actually get rid of all of the plot issues that you are going to have by creating this web of changes, but I mean, I still respect the original creators when I talk about like Game of Thrones, when I talk about Lord of the Rings, when I talk about Harry Potter. I respect the original creators and their intent when it comes to their own storytelling. But I think in the same vein, I'm not obligated to rewatch Harry Potter as a TV series if you're going to make these changes that are obviously about identitarian politics. So, I mean,
No, I want a good adaptation of the book because there's so many things in the books that the movies didn't have time to really go over. So 7 seasons, 7 books would be great if it was done right. But
yeah,
I don't have a lot of faith in any. Yeah,
Harry Potter multiverse is what's going to happen here.
Oh,
yeah.
True. Oh man, they wouldn't be able to stop themselves. But I think further down the line here, I'm not going to go too far, but here's the correct casting choice. Adam Driver would have been amazing as Snape in this series. Maybe he's too expensive and they couldn't afford him. Maybe he doesn't want to commit to an 8-year project. But he is the correct choice. He's the high caliber, talented actor they would need in a role like that. He actually resembles Alan Rickman.
He's got the voice for it.
He's got the voice for it. There is a correct choice here, and
There
maybe
might be a stipulation that JK put out though, like she did when casting the movies, that they have to be British.
Swappus Blackus. That's a funny one from on X Professor Sorg. That's a good one.
What was the one I've been hearing? It's like Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince of Bel-Air or some shit.
That's a good one. I like that one the most, I think, so far. But yeah, Adam Driver, like if they have to be British, yeah, fair enough. If they have to be British, wow, that seems like a little bit of an arbitrary one.
They've already kind of announced who they're talking to play Dumbledore.
Yep,
and everyone's like, have Gary Oldman do it because Gary Oldman wants to do it. And they're talking to some other dude. I'm not sure who it is, but
well, and I understand there's like a politics to like casting as well. In some cases, it's who you know, who has the better manager and who has the better, or not manager, but agent.
I mean, Gary Oldman played Sirius Black in the movies, so it's like it's not like him and J.K. or whatever don't know each other. Or whatever.
Right.
He doesn't have no in.
Right. That would be actually kind of cool casting to have him come in. That would be kind of cool.
Right?
I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, if you took every project that just ignored the fandom on like their desired pick for casting choices, you would be looking at the entirety of cinema. Like cinema, I don't think there's ever been a circumstance where a fan choice for a casting has ever been put to the forefront. Maybe Henry Cavill, but
I was going to say Henry Cavill.
yeah, and I think even Henry Cavill's like, I don't think that the demand for Henry Cavill being in certain projects was because of fan demand. It seems like the fans reacted positively. It's the chicken or egg. I don't know which one comes first. It's the fan demand for him to be in a project, or him being in a project made the fans happy. So, but I could see either being as likely as the other. Like Witcher, I think would be a good one. I think Witcher, because obviously he loved the Witcher project, and so maybe I'm remembering it that Henry Cavill was a fan pick for that. Obviously with
I think
Warhammer,
it just got announced, and then it was like, oh, and by the way, Henry Cavill's playing Witcher, and then the whole internet was like, fuck yeah.
well, and same with
I think that's how
Warhammer
it goes.
40K, Henry Cavill's steering the ship on that one. Like Henry Cavill's going to be producing, directing, starring, right? Like it's not like
I don't know about directing, but like showrunner.
I'm pretty sure he's directing. I could be. We'll look
It's
in.
on a hiatus, and we don't know much about it anyway. right
Yeah.
now, so.
Every article I'm seeing about the Warhammer project is Henry Cavill fights with Amazon executives on new Warhammer project. I'm just like, source? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I've seen a billion articles coming out saying Henry Cavill's pissed off at Amazon. He's gonna quit. I was like, you have like, what are you fucking talking about? There are whole channels that just put out like a weekly video about that, and I'm so pissed off because I cannot find their sources, and they don't reference their sources. They're just pulling it seemingly out of thin air. Yeah, I'm
Again, just clickbait.
yeah.
But Alan Rickman is to Snape that Hugh Jackman is to Wolverine. Like I will just always see Alan Rickman in my brain when someone says Snape.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I was rereading the books, and all I could picture was
Alan Rickman. Well, and his I mean his cadence, his like the way he carried himself in the show.
Read it as his voice too.
Yeah. I mean, honest.
Slow and methodical.
Yeah.
All the way down to Harry Potter puppet pals, you know?
If anything could,
Right.
like, I don't think this happens very often, but if we could get like the audition tapes for this, just to see like, hey, what don't we know that we would benefit from knowing? I would love to know if this guy performed such a stellar impression of Severus Snape that they're going to give him white face in order to pull this off. I would love that to be the case, but I mean, we're never going to
Good
see.
work.
We're never going to see the audition. We're never going to see the audition tapes. That's not even that it's unlikely. It's almost impossible. So we're never going to know what the studio knows, except that I think they got this like choice, and they were like, fuck the fans. They don't care. Fuck Alan Rickman. Fuck the Harry Potter, like lore accuracy and like good faith storytelling.
We're making this for a modern audience.
Well,
Real
and
quick,
yeah.
I just looked up who auditioned over Snape.
Mhm.
So Tim Roth was supposed to be Snape, but he turned it down, which led to Alan Rickman. And Tim Roth, now that I looked up his name, I have seen that dude in a lot of
Oh
different.
yeah, he's in everything.
Yeah.
Oh,
He would have been an interesting Snape.
that could have been really good. Yeah, he's brilliant. He's brilliant in a lot of projects. I had to look up the name just to make sure I was thinking about the right person. But yeah, he could do a good job. I don't think he was
He's probably too old now.
Well, who is the?
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know who this other guy is. This Papa Eliu. I'm not doing it in
He's like a stage actor,
Elliot.
classically trained stage actor.
Oh my god, are you fucking kidding me? Like that's
If you're British, you might know him from some shows, but I can't remember what the hell they were.
okay. Honestly, like obviously none of the children or actors who were in the OG Harry Potter like movie saga were huge names at the time that was being cast. I don't well, unless there's older actors in that series.
Older actors, yeah.
Maybe
but-
so, yeah, some of them. But obviously, none of the cast who stuck around the whole time were big name actors. But I mean, it's
Well, I mean,
Bes-
so, Richard Harris died.
right.
He couldn't stick around.
I guess I more meant the kids. I more meant the kids as like the main cast. I mean, obviously, like Dame Maggie Smith, Alan Rickman.
She's dead.
Yeah,
He's dead.
yeah.
Haggard's dead. Robbie Coltrane.
Was this show like the
original
Death
Dumbledore's
Touch?
Dead.
Was this show the Death Touch? Like, what is happening? They're all
No, they're just
dying.
old.
Yeah, they are. They're old. That's true. Well, they're not any older now, right? It's like,
Their bones are.
their bones age. I
Right.
think so. I think Ryan.
The mom of the Weasleys is also dead. If I'm correct. On that.
Oh,
I
So
don't know,
the
a lot of-
mom?
the Weasley mom.
The Weasley mom.
Yeah, I don't
I
know
might be
that.
wrong.
I don't know that she's dead. Maybe she is. I think the sentiment from Ryan here is legitimate. But I think like Warner Brothers, HBO Max, J.K. Rowling are committing so hard to this show. It's going to be like Rings of Power, where it's going to be impossible that this show dies. Like they're going to financially invest everything into this show, and it
They
won't.
can't. It's Warner Brothers. They don't. They're in debt. They can't do it like Prime can.
Well, Warner Brother. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I need to double check this. Rings of Power is a Warner Brothers IP now.
Oh, she's still alive. Never mind.
Can you check?
What?
Can you pull that up, Cody? Is Rings of Power Warner Brothers IP?
No, Rings of Power is Amazon.
No, that's the studio hosting the show, but but Warner Brothers owns the
What
IP
is-
for
okay,
Rings of Power.
They butchered the rights to like Lord of the Rings and all that shit. So like everyone's got like snippets of it. No
R-
one's got like the whole thing.
right, but okay, hold on.
Amazon has the rights to some appendices.
Okay, but Warner Brothers
and
is
some of
detached
the
from.
Silmarillion, maybe.
Okay, but Warner
And Warner
Brothers is
Brothers
detached
owns
from Warner Brothers is detached from the project entirely.
Yeah, they have
Okay.
nothing to do with it.
That's what I was trying to get at. I was like, I thought they were involved, but okay. But yeah, Max is, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, well, I guess it kind of matters in the sense that like Amazon has infinite money. I think that was maybe your point, that they can keep burning money with Rings of Power and keep producing that show until it just dies organically. But
Third season still hasn't been announced.
I think I saw a news article on that today.
Hasn't been announced.
Maybe, I don't know. I wasn't really looking at Rings of Power season 3 in my purview right now. But the Warner Brothers with Harry Potter, even if Warner Brothers couldn't put every dollar they have behind the show, HBO Max can. Max can keep that show running if they wanted to. I mean, Max has canceled other failing projects before, but a project like
Wait,
this.
Did you just separate Warner Brothers from Max? Like they're two separate things?
Well, I'm saying that like that. I'm basically trying to make the case that I don't think Harry Potter is going to end on season 3, even if it is a failure. If it's a financial failure, I'm not convinced that they will still end the show. That's my point.
get it.
That's my point. The nuances of which studio and what like director act, like what cast is moving around. I'm not engaging with that nuance in the position that I still think that they are going to invest into this such that we are going to see an ending of the show. And I don't think it'll be a premature one. So that's
I disagree, but whatever.
Well-
We'll have to wait and see.
yeah, we should probably
I'm
let them get
excited.
through casting before we make that prediction, I suppose. I should probably. You were saying, Matt? I cut you off?
Just time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
Time will tell what happens.
All right. We got some time left over. Let's move on. I think we were going to have one more conversation for this episode today. And this one's more of like a palate cleanser for 2024. Just to set the context here. I was looking through our comments and our chats on previous episodes of the podcast and just getting just engaging with comments on the video. And I got a sentiment from the audience that these culture war issues, like everyone's overreacting to some of these problems that keep being brought up in the social media space, and everyone's blowing certain issues out of proportion. I was completely unconvinced by that argument, and I actually believe that there are 3 types of people in the culture war, regardless of which media apparatus you're talking about, whether it be comic books, whether it be movies, television, video games. Regardless of which one you're talking about, I think there are ultimately three categories. There are the left, there are the right, and then there are the agnostic. The agnostic on the issue tend to be the ones who are making the claim that, why do you care so much? It's not a big deal. You're blowing this out of proportion. I have a huge issue with that argument, such that it's not even really an argument. It's just condescending and stupid. You're involving yourself. You're jumping in the middle of something that you obviously claim to not be passionate about, and yet feel obligated to involve yourself anyway. And you're just saying that one side of the argument should not be bringing up the concerns that they have. That's all you're saying. You're never going to convince anybody on the left that their projects here are actually bad faith adaptations. And just to kind of clarify kind of what we're talking about, if we're talking about, like, this is an opinion article from That Park Place, The Soul of Storytelling and Why Modern Films Fail to Resonate. You have a culture war going on right now that obviously is divided, and you have people who are very pro race swapping, they're very pro identitarian politics in the show, pro modern audience.
No, they're very pro race swapping in a certain way.
Yes, yep, good.
If it goes the other way, then they'll lose their shit.
Well, good yeah,
absolutely no.
Good clarification. But you have all of these things that we've been complaining about for some time, and I thought that it'd be good for us to just have an unscripted. We're not really talking about any specific article right now or any specific story. We're just going to have a conversation about where are we with the concerns and complaints we have about these industries in 2024 going into 2025. What are some of these issues resolving themselves? Are some of them getting worse? Are we going to see our ideological opponents like concede ground in any way? Or where are we? What are our concerns? And do we see an end to some of these arguments in the entertainment industry? So just to clarify, so I'll start with my thoughts on this. My main concerns in entertainment are that storytelling is not the main focus. It's pushing of the idea of wokeness. And just for definition's sake, I categorize wokeness, and I think I'm not alone on this. It's the praxis of identitarian ideology. Your race, your sex, your gender, these are what matter as an identity to you. And all things must be represented equally in all aspects, even at the sacrifice of good storytelling, good narrative consistency, and faith and a good faith adaptation of old lore and old storytelling. It
was like what they were doing with She-Hulk. They had the opposition in their minds so badly while they were writing that show that they made internet's, what they call them, chuds, the main villain of the fucking show.
Yeah, exactly. And
so it's obviously got into like storytelling. It's not.
You can't
not writing stories for story's sake. It's just
and you have people who defend the behavior who will say that it doesn't exist at all. That the idea of race swapping in a fictional universe is just a creative choice by the writer or the director, and it actually has nothing to do with it shouldn't be looked at. You shouldn't even have a concern with that. You shouldn't see it as a bad faith adaptation. You shouldn't see it as impactful to the story. And it obviously is. It's unavoidable that you're going to make these changes, and then you're going to have to narratively navigate around that. If your position is that like a person who's black has a entirely different life experience that white people couldn't understand, and you're going to tell a story from that perspective, you're making your own art. You're making my argument for me. You're making my argument that it obviously matters to you, that it obviously will impact the story because you are literally changing the story. And it's obviously done because your religion of wokeness dictates that you must have equal representation in everything, regardless of its impact to the final result of your projects. It's your cult. It's your religion. Now, what I would love is for shows that have, like, especially adaptations. Lord of the Rings is one that I'm very passionate about. If you take this fictional universe of Middle Earth and you want to change everything about it such that female dwarves don't look like female dwarves anymore, and like orcs have families and they are not the malicious evil entities that Tolkien wrote them to be. And you have
Goth, what are we gonna do about my baby?
well, and love interests between characters who have almost no business ever meeting. You have, and all of this stuff, like the retellings and the inserting yourself as some important person in the storytelling ethos for these adaptations. Like, it seems to be a complex where if you take an IP and you're responsible for telling it, you're not even attempting to hide the fact that you are just going to tell your own story and use this as a mask. It would be better faith. It would be more creatively honest for you to take your story and create your own work than to take a work of someone who has built a beloved franchise like Lord of the Rings, like Halo, like the DC universe, like Marvel, like Star Wars, and just leave them alone and create your own new thing. If
The problem with the properties though already have a built-in fan base, so you're gonna get viewers or readers
there's a
or
financial
whatever,
incentive,
regardless.
there's a financial incentive to adapting them. Then you have that same. Then in that experiment, you have two choices you can go. You can pull from the roster that you've been pulling from, these Hollywood writers who have failed at every turn, who have gone to a writer's strike to prevent AI and make sure that they remain relevant while they continue to fail. You can keep pulling from that pool of creatives, or you could reach out to people who are actually in love with these universes and want to maybe contribute, but mostly tell a good faith adaptation. You look at the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic sequel and that they were trying to put out, and the original leader of that project said that she had never played and despised the original game. You have creators who are in all of these different works that say they have an anxiety or an animus towards the original work. Dungeons and Dragons was recently in the news because some of their creative directors were shitting on Gary Gygax over, and he can't defend himself. So it's like, so they're shitting on the original creators of these works. They have no business being in a place where they actually hate the original creator of the project. You have no business being there. You don't deserve to be there. Just now I'm using deserve as a statement, like I can be the judge and jury on who deserves to be a part of which projects. But I would say that if you have a story you want to tell, it's better for the entirety of the creative universe in the real world that you create your own story and stop telling your story through these IPs that already exist. That's my biggest issue with 2024, was that we have Rings of Power doubling and tripling down. We have all of these bad faith adaptations of Batman, such as like the Cape Crusader specifically. I want to talk to. You have Velma, which was literally a shit on the audience show, and with its season 2 and finally being canceled. You have all of these IPs and more. You have Halo season 2 getting canceled, or Halo getting canceled after season 2 and being a bad faith adaptation. That's my biggest complaint, is that I love these franchises, these universes. I love them. I grew up on some of them, and I recently got invested in some of the amazing stories that we have. And now the people who are in charge of the projects not only don't want to continue the legacy, but they attack the legacy from their positions, their newly formed positions of power. And I have an absolute hatred of people who do that. I think that it's bad in almost every context. Financially, it makes no goddamn sense. It's not a financial motive that these people have. It's a narcissism. It's a inflated ego. It's an attempt at greed while failing spectacularly. But it's ultimately, I think, a hatred towards this old world of amazing writing and storytelling. You know, Gladiator 2 is another example of this. It was obviously not a good faith retelling of the original. I don't know what Ridley Scott was even trying with that. I don't know what he was trying to do. It's his work.
He's been shitting the bed for over a decade now.
Right. It's his work, so I don't have a moral high ground on the hill to die on with Gladiator 2 specifically, but it's also sequels that don't need to exist. Like, you're just ruining the legacy. So in 2025, my main focus in 2025, at least as of right now, is going to be calling out these studios who are doing these bad faith adaptations and making sure that they are on notice, that we see them. We see what they're doing. We're going to continue to call it out, and we're going to continue to criticize it. And you can fix the issue by either making a good faith adaptation of the story, or if you want to tell your own story, do it with something else. That's my main focus going into 2025. That's my main issue. So I guess if either of you guys want to talk about your main concerns with media, just take it away.
Pretty similar to yours. Like, established lore matters, and that covers everything from race swapping to just changing the story in general. You keep bringing up Lord of the Rings. There's no need to expand on anything because Tolkien created an entire universe. Like, just pick any one of the thousands upon thousands of stories that he has. Just tell that story. That'd be awesome.
I want to comment real quick on the Lord of the Rings thing. If people can, there's a video on YouTube. It's about a 3-minute video. It's it might be a little longer. It's Tolkien was reading from the Return of the King, the Ride of the Rohirrim. He was reading a chapter from that over the radio, and you have the audio recording of him reading it reading it over the radio. And in the backdrop on the video, you have the actual scene and of that being acted out in the Return of the King film. Not J.K. Rowling, Peter Jackson was attempting to make such a good faith adaptation that he mandated that people in the front of that shot, in the front of that scene, must have read that chapter and must have read the Return of the King and the Lord of the Rings. They must have known the significance of that moment in the universe in order to participate and be in the front line of that shot. That's how important it was.
But, you know what else Peter Jackson did? They filmed a bunch of fight scenes with Arwen during Helm's Deep. Like, it was really close to being in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was I mean, I don't remember from the original Lord of the Rings book what Arwen was doing in Helm's Deep. So I think the choice between making her a powerful warrior that's in Helm's Deep versus making her a cowering woman in the caves with everyone else, I think they made the right choice in the final edit of that.
No.
But
Wait,
Arwen, the elf.
that's Eowyn. Arwen.
Yeah.
Arwen.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's who I meant. But I get it. Good catch. But yeah, Arwen. Arwen should have been down in the cave. That was better for her character.
We're still talking about Eowyn.
Eowyn is the
In the
blonde.
cave.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
Arwen.
I'm not intentionally fucking this up, guys. I apologize. So Eowyn is down in the caves.
Yeah, I'm talking about Arwen.
Oh,
they filmed
what?
Arwen, which was not in the books, fighting.
the elf.
And the
So
reason they didn't want to do that is
it didn't make
so Eowyn would be like the strong female character. Arwen's the love interest
right.
for Aragorn.
Yeah. She wouldn't be in Helm's Deep in the first place.
Yeah,
Correct.
I don't think there
that's
were.
what I'm saying. Like, he does some faithful stuff, but then there was almost a point where we would have had Girl Boss Elf fighting in Helm's Deep.
Right.
Mhm.
So
And it was taken out.
Yeah.
For good reason.
Yeah. That's a better call. But I mean, like,
but it was close.
well, I'm glad we didn't get that. I mean, the other like the scouring of the Shire was also a scene we didn't get, which I understand. That makes sense. The scouring of the Shire would have been very difficult to actually do, and I think Saruman living until the end of the story would have been a bad way to finish it. So I mean, I think it's properly told in the books, but I understand for film that choice. And I don't think
and
it was made out of.
You just had an ending already, and like a cathartic ending,
Yeah,
and then you'd have to go back and have fucking raping and pillaging the Shire.
exactly. It would be it would be hard to do that with film. So I get it.
Plus the 20 other different endings. So.
But yeah, the Lord of the Rings is definitely one of the ones that I think is the most egregious offense. I think for me, I probably rank order it like Lord of the Rings with Rings of Power. I think War of the Rohirrim is probably going to be the same case, where Hera has no business being a story, but we'll see.
Well, Hera doesn't even have a name.
Exactly. She's the nameless daughter. Nameless daughter. She has no business having a story. It shouldn't be a tale of two cities where it's like I might actually have a tale. I think it's Romeo and Juliet is what I meant to say, but where you know fighting factions and there's a love interest between the prince and princesses of those factions.
Yay.
I think that's kind of I could appreciate that you want to tell a classic story, but I think it's bad setting. I
What's
think
more egregious though, it's the same writers that wrote the screenplay for the Lord of the Rings movies.
yeah,
It's Philippa Boyens and what's her face?
yeah. So
What's her face? Yeah.
I think Lord of the Rings is the most egregious. Then I think Halo to me is one of the most egregious, and I might be forgetting a bunch of others. There's obviously plenty of examples, years and years of examples, and just looking across the internet will prove evident to that. That's the main thing. It's if you refuse to tell a lore accurate or a good faith story, you deserve to be called out on it. And if you want to say that our concern about that isn't reasonable or we are overreacting to the issue, then you're not someone who cares about lore accuracy, but that doesn't make us wrong. It means you don't care about this. It doesn't mean it's not worth caring about.
Mm-hmm.
Co-
Mm-hmm. I
Cody,
don't see it getting better anytime soon.
I definitely don't want a monologue here. So, Cody, do you have anything to add? Do you have any other concerns besides what me and Matt were saying?
Not really, no. I mean, it's all a big wait and see game to see if the industry's gonna move in a particular direction. But I mean, it does take a few years. It
Yeah.
takes even longer with gaming, but
Well, the gaming successes we've had in 2024, let's just briefly touch on that. Black Myth Wukong, Space Marines 2, was Helldivers last year or was it this summer? So like this
Summer.
Okay, yeah, I get my timeline mixed up on that game specifically, but I would say besides the PlayStation debacle, that game was very popular and very well received. And I mean, it definitely stood out from the industry. Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero, Black Ops 6. I mean, we've had a lot of successes in gaming. In
had
television,
a lot of failures too.
we've had a lot of failures, but they are failing harder and winning harder than historically. Like
Yeah.
you are seeing bigger wins and more epic losses rather than this kind of play out where, oh, hey, you can find a gem in the rough for a video game. On the TV side, you have major successes like Tulsa King, Penguin, and other leading shows like that. For movies, we've had a couple of good movies this year. I think the biggest one that was a success was definitely Deadpool Wolverine. But you've also seen Disney. So Disney has recovered from Deadpool and Wolverine, Inside Out and Moana, Inside Out 2 and Moana 2, most of the money I think they would have lost in recent failures, or at least a good chunk of the money they've lost in recent failures, if not all of it. So while I think my frustrations with Disney are well-founded, the back and forth that they benefit from and fail from, they definitely make plenty of money to offset some of these losses. They're obviously heavily invested into. We'll have to see if the stock prices continue to diminish. But the movie industry, I think, is going to be one that's a little bit more hard to categorize, because you'll still see a lot of what we've been complaining about, but I think they're going to do it to a smaller scale, and then make the argument that, hey, you're still complaining about this. We're not doing anything wrong. We're only race swapping this one character rather than inserting all these gay sex scenes into it. I mean, they're definitely going to dial it back and then use that as an attack against the fandom, saying you can't be satisfied by anything. It's like, well, you just need to absolutely stop.
I am insatiable.
Money talks.
Money talks, and
If we don't buy it, then it's going to fail.
well,
People need to just
and
Vote with
learn
your
that.
wallet.
yep. Yeah, definitely. Our money has definitely talked this year. I think we definitely shook up the industry with some of these wins and some of these major losses that they've suffered. So hopefully 2025 turns a corner, and I would like to see that happen. I think we have a couple of projects coming out here that we can all be excited about, and a lot of changes coming to the channel in upcoming months. So look forward to that. But unless you guys have anything to add, I think we're going to wrap it up there.
I'm
I think
good.
that's it.
All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. We hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's free. It's the best way to help us out and help us grow. Check out the merch store. Links at the top of the description in the video. Hope you guys like them. Please comment if you guys have any questions or if you guys want to see anything from the merch store, get added. We are definitely going to be taking your guys' feedback and revisiting future versions of the store. So any feedback you guys have will definitely be taken into consideration. Make sure to comment on all upcoming videos in the rest of the year. Your comments, if they receive a bunch of likes, we will put you in the running for the variety pack of excess energy drinks that we have promoted. So make sure that you guys comment on videos so that you have a chance to win that. Smash the like button, share the video out there. Make sure to tune in next Saturday for an additional episode of the Third Party Podcast. Sunday Slackers tomorrow, so make sure to tune into that, and weekly content coming out, and we have additional content coming out throughout the week. Thank you guys for all of your support and all your love. We really appreciate having you guys, and don't forget, go tell your stories. Peace out.